as a kid with both bipolar and schizophrenia. I did not know this.
Though on the 50-part series, Who the F Did I Marry? Um, I totally think it was wonderful to share, to help other people who are um, dealing with people who are similar to Legion. However, with this new update, um, that this is an adult that has been diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia as a child, who has been medicated long term and then decided to stop taking their medications, whose parents, up until the time they died, invested every dollar. Father came out of retirement in order to make sure that he could pay for the medications for Legion. Um, and we're now seeing Legion as a forklift driver or whatever he's doing, being self sustaining, right? Because it didn't sound like he was getting or taking anything from her or anyone else. Um, However, he is obviously still being, um, still losing the battle with mental wellness, which is what's going to happen if you don't take the medications. Um, I I think my feeling has changed somewhat, and I do understand at the time that that story was initially put out, she was not aware of any of that. But now that we are aware of that, I'm really grateful that she came out and she put that out there, what the brother told her, um, but exposed the MF and all of that. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to get some feedback on how other people feel about that, but that kind of changes. Yes, he needs to be exposed as the mentally ill person that he is, for anyone who potentially might fall under, under the same situation that she did. But I don't know that MF and all of those things would apply to someone who's mentally ill. Because in that situation, I do believe that he's doing the best that he can. It's almost like having someone who has one arm, and then judging them because they couldn't lift this object, or they can't function in this job like someone with two arms would be able to function. He's operating mentally with one arm. And that's just my feeling on it. I don't know what that means, because that's not her fault that she did not know that at the time at all. That's not her fault. um, she has not been trained and would not have known how to recognize someone who is bipolar and schizophrenic. Um, now that there's information out about narcissism and antisocial personality disorder and all of those other things, there are character flaws and character things that might would have been faster to at least recognize there was some red flags. But as far as being able to formally know that this is someone who's been diagnosed before, if he didn't tell you, there's no way she would know that. But now that we do know that, I don't know. My feeling's different. I'll have to think about exactly what it is. It is definitely more empathic towards the situation, not just from her side, but from his side, and I think it's really sad. I do think it's an excellent example of what happens when mental illness is untreated, and what happens and what it does to families. The fact that his brother called and told her that and gave her that information, um, I think that it is a great example of what it does to relationships, to marriages, to job employees who you might be dealing with and working with on an everyday basis. And this is coming from someone who was also married to someone who was diagnosed bipolar and schizophrenic. However, being aware of that, I was able to, oh, everybody, I hope everybody don't get to see what just popped up on the screen. But you'll see my dinner. Um, but having been in that situation myself, I do have empathy for that. And, I started writing a book called Loving Flowers. Um, and, I've even struggled with being able to finish that because I do think that there's a certain amount of dignity that we want to protect those who are unable to protect themselves mentally. And, you know, so I don't know. Like I said, I'll continue thinking about what I feel about the exposure in light of the new information. And either way, there's no judgment of her because she didn't know. But anyway, just wanted to drop that out there. I'm interested in what other people think. Does that make a difference for you? Do you now have some empathy, or do we continue to stalk this man on social media, beat him up, and all of that because because he's missing an arm, right? This is an interesting conversation, and I'd like to see where this is going to go in part two.